Hello, Africa. My name is Nakwa Kwabla. It's 7 minutes past 10 a.m. You're watching us live from Pointe-Noire, Congo, Brazzaville. This is a new dawn. The much-awaited Pan-African channel is here. This is Africa News. Very soon, we will be joined by the father of Africa News, as we call him, the visionary of this entire project, Michael Peters. He happens to be the CEO of Euronews, as well as Africa News as well. He will be telling us about the mission of this remarkable project. But you can always join us. We are streaming live on Facebook and on Twitter. Find us Africa News FR, Africa News for English. We will be streaming live on both social media platforms, and so you can join us with your questions. Now, if you want to know what Africa News is all about, watch this.
This is the land. This is the cradle of mankind and the cradle of the future. A whole new territory for innovation, new promises and horizons. This is the land with many faces, many opinions, many views. All different, but gathered around this one cause, this one dream, this one mission. Empowering people through independent and reliable news. Sharing the Euronews team's 23 years of experience everywhere in Africa. This is the land where we want to defend our common belief and raise a Pan-African news perspective. This is the land where your voice will be heard. This is why today we are bringing Africa News. Africa News.
Now you know it's Africa News and you're watching us live from Pointe-Noire. And so for all your updates on sports, business, politics, from an African perspective, there's only one place to watch, and this is Africa News. Now, as broadcasters have dreamt about this project, a Pan-African channel, but one man dreamed and put it together. He's Michael Peters. He's joined me shortly. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here, Michael Peters.
Hi, Veronica.
Then again, people want to know, how and when did you decide to have such remarkable project, an African channel, a Pan-African channel on an African soil?
The project came in 2012, so nearly 3-4 years ago. When I had the big chance to make a big meeting, you know, sometimes you make big meetings in your life, and I met with a great journalist and expert about Africa called Stephen Smith, with an American journalist, very well known and big expert about Africa. And you know, after this, you know, during dinners, oftenly you try to reshape the world, and I explained him the vision that I have about what's the responsibility of media organizations like us in the society of today. I think that we clearly live today in a world of infobesity. We have been never as much informed as today, but probably never as bad informed as today. Because I think that one of the problems is that media organizations try to have only one goal, is to impose their own perspective. And I think it should be totally the contrary. I think media organizations like us are here to empower the people. They need to consume brands like us to get better knowledge about that. And for this reason, I believe that we can't, as Euronews, speak well about everything in the world, and that there are some territories that are extremely promising, extremely rising, and Africa is the first of all of them. And then the question was simple. Was it about doing like everyone else, meaning launching Euronews Africa, or was it about doing something totally different, Africanews? Africanews is the biggest bet no one has ever done in the industry. I'm the only stupid guy who decided to launch a new brand which is not Euronews. Can you imagine the amount of money, of time, of attention that you need to build a brand like Euronews? And my decision is to say, I won't use the Euronews brand like all the others are doing. I'm creating a new brand that will become the sister brand of Euronews. This is a bet that no one has done in the industry. So why?
Yeah, sorry to cut you, but then you're speaking about bets, and maybe people thought the idea was a bit crazy. Again, the location.
No, I thought it was
crazy. You thought crazy, okay. But the location is a contentious issue. Why did Euronews choose Congo-Brazzaville? Points not to be precise.
Yeah. So the idea is really just to finish on what I said and just to arrive to your question. The idea then was to say, okay, we want to implement, so what is about Africanews? We want to implement a media organization called Africanews that will be the voice of the African continent in Africa and in the rest of the world. So, of course, contrary to many, if not all, of our competitors, the idea was to be based in Africa and not in France or whatever, like a lot of others are doing. Then what we did with Stephen Smith is that we established, I would say, a kind of cahier des charges, I don't know how we say that in English, a kind of
a strategy? A
strategy or a paper with conditions to choose the country. Yeah. So the conditions were about the first of all of them was to leave us doing our work independently without any pressure that I will never, ever accept. And the last reason was to have a country that was about to welcome us. And the deal was to say, okay, if you welcome us, it's like when you welcome an international institution. So you propose to us somewhere to live. You are in charge of finding building the headquarters of Africanews that will be built, I hope, soon in Brazzaville, and all of that. And then Stephen went to see a lot of countries, a lot. And we have been very surprised, actually, because many countries, for example, the kind of countries that you would have not asked the question, put us a lot of conditions. And I have to say loudly today, I have nothing to hide. And maybe tomorrow it won't be true, but today it's true. I have to say that the only country, the only one that respected all the criteria has been Congo. Right. So that's why we came here. It's just because the country respected all the criteria. And I can just add that until now, until today, and I think you can share this testimony with me, even during this very hard time that the country experienced, during the last weeks, no one has tried to interfere with our work. I hope you can testimoniate about that. Certainly. And so until now, we are fully satisfied to be in Congo.
Yeah, I know you're very much passionate about this project, but then again, our viewers want to know, what is the main mission of Africanews, and in the coming years, what will we see?
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, Africanews is clearly here to give an African perspective about news, whether it's African news or world news. I have to say that this is another bet. And I mean, people, I mean, our friends who are here with us know better than me that what is a Pan-African perspective? And I have to say very humbly that I know this problem by heart because we have the same problem in Europe. What is a Pan-European perspective? And I think that today there are a lot of media who exist who are they are more pan-regional than pan-continental. So you have a lot of pan-regional media who are extremely strong in the Francophone side of Africa, or extremely strong in the Anglophone side of Africa, or the west of Africa, or the east of Africa. But to my knowledge, until now, there is no one real pan-continental brand that is able to speak to the people, at least in French and English, and I hope soon in other languages. And so this is the first bet, is to try, and the bet, by the way, you will realize it, is to try to offer, we spoke about that yesterday, is to try to offer to the viewers, to the consumer, something that they didn't get until now, which is a real Pan-African view. And the second goal is to turn into a participative media. We think that we must, and that's why the baseline of Africanews is your voice. We think that Africanews is the voice of the continents outside of the world, but we equally strongly believe all together that Africanews will have to be the voice of Africans. And we will establish in the coming weeks, days and weeks, new programs, new inputs, new way of doing journalism that will give the voice of African people. The only illustration about that is that we launched, and you can have a look at that, we launched an app called Story Hunters, where anyone can share in this app, Story Hunters, any story that he would like to share with Africanews.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot in store for our viewers right here. And now when we launched the online community in January, there was massive, you can imagine the people who logged on to read what we had to offer. Now, it's live today from 5 p.m. That's local time, Central Africa local time. It will be live on air. How would our cherished viewers get to watch Africanews?
So they will be. So we will be present in more than in nearly 35 countries in Africa. We have already made deals with all the. I mean, most of the big cable and satellite platforms. Canal Plus, of course, being one of our main partners, Zuku, and StarTimes and others like that. So we will be present in the main different platforms in Africa. We'll be present through equally some DTT offers, digital terrestrial offers, like the one of Canal in Congo here, Easy TV. We will be present through Windows on terrestrial channels, analog terrestrial channels that we have made deals with, and they will broadcast Africanews a few hours a day. So I would say, and of course, as you clearly mentioned it, and rightly mentioned it, we are present everywhere, digitally speaking. I mean, it's a total responsive design site, which means it's a site dedicated for computers, for mobiles, for tablets, for whatever. So in digital, we are just everywhere.
All right. If you just join us, this is Africanews, your first Pan-African multilingual channel right here on African soil. You can join the conversation online. Find us on Facebook and Twitter, where we are streaming live at Africanews FR, at Africanews for the English channel. And then on Facebook, it's also Africanews FR and Africanews for the English channel as well. Now, let me go to the earlier issue raised about Africa Rising. Everybody is excited about this project, from the newsroom to technicians, even to the layman on the streets of Pointe-Noire. They're so excited about this. But once again, it's a very contentious issue. When we say Africa Rising with Africanews, what are we saying specifically? What do we mean specifically?
I think that, as I said, at the start of this discussion, I think that as media organization, we really bear a clear responsibility in the society. I strongly believe to that. And one of the responsibility that we have with a project such as Africanews, news, I mean, you know it better than me. News is bad news. And by the way, I don't know why. But you journalists have the answer. But news is bad news. And I think that there are a lot of caricatures about the African continent. A lot. Everywhere in the world. And I think that one of the aspects about this new brand is to show all the faces of Africa. So yes, there will be dark faces.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And there are ugly faces, and you cover them far enough. But I think that Africanews must equally be a media that will help to give a light to this Africa rising. So, for example, so I think that in Africanews we'll have to speak equally a lot about business, about this entrepreneurship spirit that I feel is beginning to rise in Africa. One of the examples, I met here in Congo with Veron Manku, who is very famous African, who is producing smartphones for Africans made in Africa for a very low price. And Veron just associated with us, and so we will, for example, we will he will build for us an Africanews phone. So it will be a smartphone, totally Africanews, with branded Africanews. And within this phone, we will create a store, an Africanews store. And in this store, we will select every week new apps of startups from everywhere in Africa, just to try to highlight all the talents in Africa. I think that these talents will equally have to be shown on air, and I'm sure that you'll do that. You told me. So this is the part of this is the side that equally I would say that we want to bear our responsibilities to show all faces of Africa, including Africa rising.
Definitely, Africa is indeed rising. And let me just brief you on the makeup of the Africanews team. We have over 85 technicians, made up of technicians, journalists. The team is quite diverse from 15 different countries. So it tells you how diverse and how rich the human resource here is right here on Africanews. And just to run by you some of the flagship programs, you have the Morning Call, Business Africa, Football Planet, and later on the network. Once again, you're watching Africanews live from Pointe-Noire, and you can always join the conversation on our social media page on Facebook and on Twitter as well. Find us at africanews.com. You can also chip in your questions as well. Now, I was talking about the flagship programs we have on Africanews, and the first is the Morning Call. The first, and none you have never seen before. Watch this. Africanews wakens Africa every day with the Morning Call live.
A direct line every morning to leading African and international newsmakers.
Personalities, experts, politicians from across the continent give their views.
And answer your questions.
Don't miss the Morning Call.
Your news rendezvous Monday to Friday live.
Only on Africanews. Well, what else can you expect? This is Africanews, and you're watching us live from Pointe-Noire. What you just watched was a promo of the Morning Call. We have that of the Football Planet and our Business Africa, and later on the network as well. You can always join us with your questions on our live page on Twitter and on Facebook as well. Our father, we love to call him our father because he's a visionary behind this project. He's still here with me. Michael Peters, the CEO of Euronews and Africanews as well. He's right here with me. Now, let me just take some few words on you. like I said earlier, you are very passionate about this. The news team, the technicians, we are very excited about this project. But let me ask you, how do you feel today? It's finally here. I'm
feeling, I mean, of course, I think more emotions than excited, you know. It's a big emotion today because, you know, when you have such I mean, it was clearly a dream. I mean, you cannot imagine the number of people who wanted to do this project, you know.
Sure.
And just that it happens so fast. Okay, of course, 3 years is a lot, but in the, you know, for history, it's nothing. And I'm feeling emotions, and I'm feeling equally responsible. I think that clearly, I mean, I should not be here anymore in the coming days. And, you know, this is not the project of European people who are trying to, you know, impose any European views on the market. I mean, you will bear this project, you, all of you, and it's a kind of heritage day today, you know. And I think that the most important now is what will be the reaction of the market. So there is equally a lot of impatience about to see what will be the reaction. And I equally want just to have the last word is that there are people who trusted us and who are trusting us. The government of Congo is one of them, is the first of them. But I just want to have a particular thought today because that's the first day, and you understand that Africanews will have to make money. I just gave us 5 years. So the business plan is to be at equilibrium in 5 years' time, and this will be now the key of these projects, except the fact that you'll have to do well, which I'm sure you will.
We will, definitely.
But so, I mean, then this will be the next challenge. And I have to say that we have, for the launch of today, we have already advertisers who trusted us. I just want to name them because it's important for me to say that they are with us, and thanks to them, we hope we will succeed with this project. So we have MTN Congo, who is the first one. We have Accor, Africa. We have Brussels Airlines. We have the Bank of West African Bank of Development. We have Atijarifawa Bank, and we have the International Foire of Madagascar, who are the first advertisers that will be on air today. So I just want to say that I have equally thought about all the people that are supporting us. Last but not least, I mean, just can't wait for 5 p.m. here. Can't wait to this launch, and just hoping that there is a god of media. I don't know if you know, all of you guys there where you are, if there is a god of media. I just hope that if there is no god of media, he will appear today.
I think there's a god of media, because we had the blessings today. Showers of blessings this morning. Unprecedented. Well, thank you very much, Michael Peters, the Pharaoh of Africanews, as we love to call him, and CEO of Africanews and Euronews as well. He joined us to tell us his vision for this remarkable project. Indeed, he is a visionary, because this project has been the dream of Ace broadcasters for several years, but now we have it, a Pan-African channel right here on African soil, and we will be broadcasting simultaneously in English and in French, so nobody is left out. When you tune into Africanews, you have the English channel, you have the French channel. It's the same as online on our website, www.africanews.com. We are streaming live on Facebook and on Twitter, so you can always join us with your questions. And we finally await 5 p.m., I beg your pardon, Central African time, when we'll surely be live on air. The team will join Michael Peters, the entire team. You'll see us right here again. And so from us here in the studio, from Michael Peters, from the entire team behind us, in the studios, in the newsroom, from human resource to finance, everybody, we thank you for watching. We're still waiting for the questions, and then when we get them, we promise you we'll be responding to some of them. But then it's us, from us here in Point Noir, we say thank you very much, and expect us live on air at 5 p.m. Central African time. Right.